Hey everyone, welcome back to the MHP Show podcast. I'm your host, Derek Vickers. And on the show, we talk about mobile home parks and anything that has to do with mobile home parks. I have a great guest with me today. But before we get started, I wanted to let you guys know about if you go to www.victorycapital.com, you can download our ebook on investing in mobile home parks. So go check that out. It's a freaking awesome ebook. And if you want to schedule a call with me to learn a little bit more about what we're doing at Victory Capital, because we're working with really, 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs. If you have a business and you're dealing with employees and all the other stuff every day, and you like the idea of it creating wealth through real estate, especially mobile home parks, I would love to schedule a call with you and talk to you about what we're doing at Victory Capital. So if you go to victorycapital.com, you can download the ebook and schedule a call with me on the website. Also, if you have not joined, if you're new to the mobile home park space and you want to learn more about it, well, one, you can follow me on social media, or you can go to our Facebook group that's Mobile Home Park Investing Pros. I'm posting free content there all the time that can help you get started on your journey. So please check us out. Now, I've got Mr. Max Baker with me today, the MHP Broker. I'm sure if you've been hunting deals in this business, you probably get an email from him about deals that they have, because they're getting deals all the time. What's up, dude?
Hey, man. What's up? Just living the dream, man. Slinging deals, and occasionally I'll buy a deal from time to time. Or I'm kind of in the whole realm of things. I get in mobile home parks. So yeah, it's thanks for inviting me, and glad I could be a part of your journey.
Yeah, for sure, dude. So what'd you do before this?
So that's a good question. I was in the Marine Corps, and I got out in 2005. Man, it's 20 years ago, which is wild. And I was a trumpet player in the Marine Corps band, and I was living in San Diego, traveling all around. And then my dad bought a mobile home park in 2004, and he had some empty pads. And he said, Max, I got some empty pads in here. I see you're doing hard money loans with people around the base. That's what I was doing. Just like, you need $100, I charge you 120, you pay me back next pay period kind of thing. He said, do you want to invest in some of these empty lots, buy some homes out of them? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I was in the Marine Corps, and it was like, back then you could get a mobile home for $5,000, a used one, and get it moved for $1,500. That does not exist anymore, really.
No.
And so I ended up doing, I think, 3 or 4 deals, got out of the Marine Corps, and started doing it more and more, these Lonnie deals. They were Lonnie Scruggs. If you've never heard of them, look them up. He has 3 books. Oh, actually, it's like 1 or 2 books, actually. I think it's 2 books, Deals on Wheels, and I forget what the other one is.
No, I just know of Deals on Wheels. I didn't even know he had any others.
Yeah, he's got one other one, and it was about investing in paper or something. And then I also read that Jimmy Napier book, Invest in Debt. You ever read that?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's a great book. It helped me kind of learn how to leverage debt to take my journey to where I'm at today. And then started doing Lonnie deals. And then I was like, you know what? There's not really anybody doing brokerage in this industry. And there's really one person, an old guy named Barry Henson, who doesn't do it anymore. But everybody loved working with him, being sarcastic. And I was like, man, that's my competition. I'm going to go for it and see how it goes. And, that was back in 2008, 2009. And I never really looked back since, man. I started brokering deals, bought a couple of foreclosures with some investors as a silent partner. Then I just kept brokering stuff. And then I was like, all right, well, I'm getting pretty good at this. Let me expand in the other states, and started going into other states and investing there. And I really, back in 2011, I got into outsourcing, and my whole company back then was virtual. So this was before even COVID. And I started hiring people. I tried all different countries. I mean, I went to China, went to Philippines, Mexico, Guatemala, and ended up just landing in India. I really enjoyed. I met a guy who used to work at Aquin Financial, if you ever remember that company from back in the day, and was referred to him. And my boy Sadeep's been with me for over a decade now, man. And we've since then, we kept building our team in Bangalore, India. And then in 2017, I got married, and my wife joined the team, and she started running back of house and really pushing the management and whatnot. And, just kept on growing, man. Started bringing on more brokers, buying deals. I don't have a massive deal appetite. I've got my current portfolio right now. I've only got, let's see here, 6 deals right now, but I'm not a big debt guy. Even though I read that book, Invest in Debt, I read this book called The Creature from Jekyll Island. I don't know if you've ever checked that out.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
By Robert, I think it's Robert Greene, the guy that wrote that.
No, that's no.
Robert Greene. That's the guy that did 48 Laws.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, we know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So, and then I just was like, I'm not big into money raising. I've always just kind of self-funded or given money to people. So by choice, I've done that just to self-fund. And, now I've been in it for 15 years. And, I try to buy a deal a year, maybe 2 if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
But my game has always been the brokerage, and it's just super challenging. And I kind of like, I guess I just like to suffer because some days it's great and some days you're like, what am I doing with my life?
Well, that's the same thing on the buy side, dude. On the buy side, it's like some days are freaking great. And then the next day, you've got a massive utility issue and you're like, screw this.
Yeah, I've been there, man. The septic tank nightmares of contractors disappearing after a job was halfway done and not pulling permits when they said they were. I mean, what a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's good to have somebody like yourself that's running this show on, just dealing with it. So I've done that multiple times where I've invested in syndications, and it's a great way to get some good returns and you build some good relationships with the operators. And, like I said, it's a good way to build wealth and not have to, deal with blowing out septic tanks or sewage treatment plants or whatever.
Yeah. Or tenants trying to burn people's cars down.
I haven't had that. I've had a couple of brothels, but that's never had a burning.
You haven't had a brothel yet. Yeah, I said yet.
Yet.
Oh, that's funny. So you mentioned something. So you built a team in India for like operations, or like what do they do for you?
Yeah, so they do management. Basically, they're fractional management back of house, except boots on the ground. And then also they do all the research for our brokerage company. They do all the Asana. I use Asana project management. They do all of that. They do pretty much everything but cold call. I try to outsource cold calling, but it just it just doesn't really work that well with somebody that doesn't really know the industry and whatnot.
Yeah.
But they do that. They help me with pretty much everything that can be done virtually. Outsourced everything. I haven't outsourced my personal assistant. She is here locally, but my whole goal was just to create a self-managing company. And for a long time, it was that way until the market shifted, and now I'm having to get back into deal flow. I haven't been in deal flow since 17, and now I'm back into it just because it just needs it. Just the deals are few and far between right now, so I had to get back into deal flow for that reason. But I enjoy it. Like it's been a minute, but getting back into it, it's been kind of fun. I like putting deals together. To be blunt with you, there's a lot of back and forth and strategy and cat and mouse. And as a broker, there's a movie that's one of my top movies. If you've ever checked it out, it's called Layer Cake. You ever seen that movie?
Yeah, it's been a while, but I have, yes.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite middleman movies out there, and it's the art of good business is being a good middleman. That's what Eddie Temple would say, and that's kind of how I've always enjoyed that part of the brokerage part. It's just it's just a game. It's like a dance, and it's fun, man. I enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure. Look, it's a game, and we like to have games. Honestly, like as many parks as I've done, and sometimes the gray hair here shows it. It's like, okay, but I like the game. I like going out and finding the deals. Like I went out to a deal that we had found the other day, and I just love walking the park with the seller and the manager and finding out, just letting them talk and let them slip up on the stuff that they don't want to tell me. I like kind of playing that game. It's just fun. And I've been focusing on a lot lately of trying to, hey, what are the things that give me energy, right? Like, what does it give me energy? Like, I want to do more of those things like this, doing a podcast or being on a podcast or going to a park, putting together a deal. Funnily enough, doing a pro forma on the deal gives me energy. I don't know why I like it, but to your point, like I've been trying to focus on things that, is good and kind of getting rid of all the other tasks and having someone else do them. And it sounds like you've done that as well to a degree.
I invested a lot, hundreds of thousands of dollars to create a self-managing company. Sometimes I question whether or not that was a great investment, but at the end of the day, I invested in myself, And like just anybody else, like out there, you go out there and try to run a business, like going to seminars. I mean, I've been to Dan Sullivan, and I don't know if anybody knows for strategic coaches. And now I'm in EO, which is entrepreneurial organization. So, you're always investing in yourself, and your capabilities keep compounding. But at this stage in the game, I'm looking to compound relationships with people that I just enjoy working with. Because like, I'm sure you have the same kind of aspect in life, is just looking to compound everything around you. That way, life is just not, eating you alive, and we're both getting more gray hairs, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I think it's important to do all those things that you said and like take charge, because if you let life happen to you, then that's no good. You're just going to be like, handling what comes up. But if you're actually making it and, you're being kind of causation over it, like that's really where the freedom is and where the excitement and the enjoyment is. Because, I've been at a point where I'm just handling whatever comes to me. And like, you're working off everyone else's battle plan, not your own. And it's just not fun. Like, I hate that. Like, if a bank sends me something, I'm like, dude, I'll get to this when I get like, if it's not completely freaking urgent, like I'm going to do it. I'm like, not now when I'm doing work that's going to push me forward to the targets that I want to hit.
for sure, man. Yeah, it's a balance, man. Like, having the what am I trying to say here? Fireman syndrome, where you just kind of running around trying to put out all these fires that are kind of happening to you. And at the end of the day, like, you're the one that created this company. You're the one that's putting all this together. Like, people can wait a day sometimes, you know what I mean? It's like, I got some personal things going on and whatnot. So it's just a game, man. I mean, just like one thing that I've struggled with in the past, I don't know if you've done, it's just kind of like boundaries, what kind of behavior you're allowed to, what kind of behavior you allow in your life. You know what I mean? And that's something that I've been meditating a lot on lately, is kind of like identifying boundaries of like, some things, people cross boundaries that like really drains you, you know what I mean? Like, and then there's some things that are just like, I can deal with that a little bit easier. So I'm a little bit more liberal on where I am on that boundary. But yeah, I mean, it's true. Like, it's just one of those things that you just have to kind of work through and kind of, I always say, slam my dick in the door.
Yeah.
Until you figure out where what gives you energy and what's like zapping you, and be like, oh, I don't want to get up in the morning. It's just, it's an evolving thing. It's a living, breathing organism, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I totally agree with you. You said something there about the, what did you say before? You were talking about, what you allow in your life. And I just wanted to say something on that. It's like what you tolerate from other people. I think the more that you have you started from nothing and you grinded and you built your business up, the higher you go up. Like, I find like the more intolerant I get of bullshit. Like, I just don't want it in my environment. Right. And that's just not me being an asshole. It's me being in control, because someone has to take control of the environment. Because if no one else in the company is going to do it, like, somebody has to do it. Right. And, you have to honestly be more of a stickler of like, hey, we're not going to tolerate that. Like, we don't tolerate that. Like, we do stuff thoroughly. We don't make little mistakes. But I totally agree with what you're saying. It's like, and me personally, like, I've been working on this myself and just getting more ruthless. Like, hey, I don't like that. Like, I'm not going to let it slide. Yeah. Right. Instead of just being like, oh, well, it's okay. No. I don't like that. We need to confront it and handle it, because if you don't, then down the road, it's like, oh, well, now this person has created this massive disaster. When you saw it 2 months ago, you're like, I didn't like that, and you let it slide. I think it's important, if you see those things, to kind of like, handle it in your environment.
Yeah, man, it's funny because like I'm like that as well when it comes to like my operations, people that work back of house. I have a hard time being that way with the brokers on the team, because like, the brokers are not employees, they're 1099s, and it's some of them have big personalities, and some of them will come in and take advantage of you and leave. Like, it's like managing salespeople has probably been one of the hardest things I've ever done in my entire life. It's harder than putting deals together. It's harder than finding deals. Like, I sometimes ask myself, why am I suffering like this? But it's kind of a necessary evil when it comes to growth. Like, it's a skill set that I think if you want to continue to outsource around you, like, finding some good, trustworthy people that can do acquisitions around you and are not, blow off the handle kind of people like that's when I'm recognizing, like, that's when you get some really good, like, fuel on it. But yeah, man, like, it's managing 1099 versus W-2 is very different when it comes to operations. It's more touchy feely on the 1099 side.
Yeah. You have to massage them and pet them, and like, you kind of have to know your person, because I was in insurance sales, and I managed over 100 commission insurance agents.
Oh, nice.
So, dude, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, so and so snaked my deal over here, and he called me here. Like, I was working on that deal, and you have to, like, manage these things, and like, there's emotion involved, and it's typically like, if the salesperson's not making any money, then they're more emotional. If they're doing really, really well, they're a bit more rational. Or sometimes when they're doing really, really well, they think they're Donald Trump, and then they do something stupid. But you have to, manage that. And you, as the leader, you really need to be that stable person, like, that's just doesn't get too excited, doesn't get too crazy, like, it's just even keel, no matter if things are going good or things are going bad. Because if this, like, the sales, like, you may kill it, and then it's like, interest rates go up to 8%, and then it's like, whoa. So then you're going to deal with more emotion from these people, because they're not making any money, or they're making less money. It is definitely a challenge, and it takes, like, I did that for like 3 or 4 years. I had a smaller team and a big team, and so I actually excelled at it. But it's not easy. It's not easy.
It's a challenge, man. I've failed miserably at it, and then I'm getting better at it each time I go through an experience, and just become a better leader overall. But it's funny you say that, because like, when we have somebody on board with us, like, the very first book I gave them is The Daily Stoic. You ever read My Rant Holiday?
I haven't. No.
Yeah, it's a great book. I mean, it's all about stoicism, because like, in this industry, it's it's up and down and sideways and left, and like, the emotions just kind of come out, because you're like, Ali, I don't feel like I'm controlling my life at all. I'm just, the deals are just, and you start, it's tough. So we have that with the Daily Stoic. And then it's true though, when brokers or salespeople make a little bit of money, they feel like they're the smartest person in the room. And money does that, man. Money does weird things to a lot of people, and you just have to recognize it. So I'll ask, how is it you deal with that, man, when you were dealing with it? It's just the Donald Trump syndrome, I guess you could call it, to coin your...
Yeah, it's hard, man, because we would find, like, I had a couple, like, really, really talented salespeople. Like, when they worked and needed to work, they would fucking kill it. And then as soon as they killed it, they'd be like, oh yeah, I went to the mall here today. You would see their calls drop. You would see all their stats drop. And I'm like, dude, what the hell? Like, so I would try to, like, come in and be like, get them focused back on their target, because a lot of times in my experience, like, when you take these people that grew up like really middle class, and they go ahead and they make like 15 grand in 1 month or 20 grand in 1 month, they're like, oh my God, this is more money than I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm doing well. Let's settle. Right.
Yeah.
So I would try to, like, because I have big goals and big targets, right? And I would try to get the team to focus on those as well, and just try to hit through, like, the middle class mindset that they would have.
Yeah.
Because, 20 grand a month for somebody, like, yeah, you could probably live off that. Depends on where you are, and it depends on what your lifestyle is, right? You got kids. But, it's hard, man. It is very hard. And I never really cracked the code to it. But, I would just always, like, relentlessly and ceaselessly go at, like, don't be an average person. Like, the average person stops when they get a lot of money. Like, I would just preach on not being that person.
So what made you transition into mobile home parks? Like, what was it was it the managing that all the Donald Trumps are like, fuck this, I'm out of here?
No, it actually wasn't that. It was, I'd always wanted to get into real estate. And when COVID happened, I'll talk about dealing with emotions of salespeople, not making money. And, like, there's no businesses that want to buy insurance. Like, yeah, totally. Like, sure. It's difficult. But I was like, man, I got to get the real estate thing going, because I was still a bit, you get renewals and stuff and insurance, but I was still a bit susceptible to, the economy, like, and shit that was going on. And so I started looking for really multifamily deals. And then I actually learned about mobile home parks and the underlying, fundamentals, low supply, high demand and all that stuff. I like that. And I got a list, and literally, Max, between so I was responsible. I would do a lot of recruiting in insurance. I would have a recruiting meeting. Any minute I had between a meeting, I was cold calling an owner, trying to get somebody on the phone. Didn't really, I had been underwriting real estate for 5 years, but I just didn't have the balls to kind of go after it. But then it was the COVID. It was like, all right, I don't care. I'm going to figure it out if I find a deal. And we'll go from there. But that's really how I transitioned, because it was, and really, and people probably heard me talk about this on the show before, but I got pissed off because the people that were corporate at this particular place, our team was we were crushing it. We were number one in just about everything. And, corporate people were trying to tell me what to do, and they'd never cold called someone in their life.
Yeah.
So it's screw you, dude.
Yeah, it's tough.
I'm not going to do that. And so not a lot of people understand how difficult that is to manage salespeople. How many do you have?
I've had up to 6. Now I'm down to 4, including myself.
Yeah.
My goal is to get to 10, but I'm at this point now where I'm if it's a culture fit, because I've been through, I've had people come in here, work with me for 4 months, scrape a database, and then leave, and now they're competing with me. I'm like, bro, that really just happened to me last week. And I'm like, all right, dude, go figure it out, because it's a lot harder than you think.
Yeah.
And then I've had people that, like Eric White, who's been with me since the beginning. And he's a good guy, and we get along really well. And, so I think at this point, I'm really trying to focus on getting, I would say probably, now that I'm saying it out loud, we went through our annual planning. I'd say 3 senior agents, 2 associates, and 3 junior associates, because we have different tiers on how people are and whether or not, because most of the stuff that we have, 90% of the stuff that we work on are coming from my efforts of marketing. So that was my problem, is I was too good at marketing and getting leads. So, the cold callers weren't, I had to change my whole culture to kind of do more cold calling, because this market changed.
Yeah.
When the market changes as a broker, you've got to change it. And that's what happens. And some people are that make the money during the market that's doing well, that don't want to change. They're I don't want to change. I'm like, well, you're not going to make any money. So it's just, it's been a delicate balance. I'm trying to figure out that exact formula. But then, my other game now is just to work on trying to buy a deal every once in a while. And they're not just mobile home park stuff. I've got a boat and RV storage facility here in Atlanta that I bought. And I'm I kind of like this asset class. So, right now I'm literally just sitting on a ton of cash, and I'm just waiting for opportunistic buys that are coming. And I've got a couple things in line that I'm doing, but I don't have nearly the appetite that I think you have. I think you said you had over 40 communities. Dude, I give you a mad respect, because I know how much work and time that it takes to take down deals and figure out how they're operating and fix the drama. And my question I was going to ask you is, when you started buying them, did you come out of the gate syndicating, or did you start self-funding? Because I know you were successful in insurance. I'm just kind of curious how your journey was.
Yeah. So I really, most of the money I made in insurance, I maybe had I had 50 to 100 grand. And then when we started buying, I was still doing insurance. And so I got a little bonus, but it still wasn't enough to buy deals. So I basically partnered up with someone that wanted to buy mobile home parks that, had a little money, right, and wanted to invest. And I was like, I'll be the boots on the ground, right? I'll do all the crappy work. Did I want to do that? No, but it was my way to get into the business.
In the game.
Yeah. And then I built my, equity up that way. And then we started syndicating. He had, was pretty connected, had wealthy friends and things. And we just went and did friends and family, and then just kind of built it up from there. So yeah, it was, it's, I think about it, and people would say, oh my God, Derek, you're lucky you found the right partner. I did. I'll tell you, I was lucky for sure. But I will say that I got introduced to him from a friend.
Okay, nice.
A friend. But I'll tell you, it's once you get committed to something, and all the fucking cold calls and shit that I made, and the bullshit that I went through in the insurance business for 10 years, cold calling with nothing, making 13 grand my first year and like 20 grand the second year, like, and getting my ass kicked every day, like for a long time before that opportunity came. But when that opportunity came, I was ready for it.
Yeah.
I was ready for it. I had the confidence because I had gotten my teeth kicked in. I had failed a lot. I had been almost bankrupt many times in trying to build the insurance business, right? And a lot of people don't think about that. They're like, oh, I want to get in the mobile home park business. And oh, you had it easy. You found a partner. Like, okay, what have you done to like actually, dig the ditch and getting there, right? Like you didn't even, hey, if like someone's like, oh, Derek, you're doing so well. And I'd be like, hey, are you willing to like go cold call in insurance for 10 years and build up a team to get the opportunity to build a massive portfolio? I don't know if a lot of people would say like,
it's a lot of work, man. I mean, it sounds sexy to come out of the gate and, in 4 years time, 5 years time, have over 40 communities. But dude, like, I know how much fucking work that takes for you to do that. Like I've seen, it's a well-worn path in this industry, and it just takes work. I mean, I give you mad respect, dude. It's not something I want to do because I know how much work it is. I'm more of a 10 communities or less. That's kind of, I like to play in that ground, and I self-fund all of my stuff. But it's just, man, like I said, I give you mad respect for it because I know how much work it is. How is it that your team is set up? We were talking about the virtual stuff on my end, but I'm curious how you're set up.
Yeah, so we have virtual people as well, and then we have people here, stateside. So then we have, some parks we have like a little, greeter property manager, and then at some where we have a lot of parks, we'll have a regional manager handling, let's just say 200, 300, 400 lots, depending on how close that they are. And then we have someone in the office who is virtual actually, that they're the sort of communicator, like they take in all the communication from the tenants and they, handle what they can and then pass it to a manager if needed. So, the system's not perfect. We're actually constantly writing policy and getting it and trying to make it better because, our target this year is to get it to like, hey, where's this thing grows without really me touching on it that much, like the capital raising and stuff. I'm obviously still going to be involved in that, but I think it's time to sort of take it to the next level to where it's like, okay, this is, if you look at like most of the largest real estate companies, like, yes, the owners are involved for sure, but like, I'm like you, I want the system to build without me. So I think it was in maybe Robert Kiyosaki's book or something that he's like, if you leave your business for 2 months and it goes to shit, this is not verbatim, by the way, you don't have a business. If your business doesn't grow and you're not there, it's not a real business, right? So like, that's really where my mind is going, is like, hey, let's get the right people on the train and then, expand and expand and expand, but then have the business sort of keep going without you there.
Yeah.
Is the idea.
I'm going to ask you a real deep question. You can decide to pass or not. That's all right with you.
Yeah.
Mike, and I ask all this of all my buyers and sellers and people that are in the industry. I even asked Frank Rolfe this.
Yeah.
I said, when is enough?
Yeah, look, I think it's a great question. Like it really just depends on what you want to accomplish. Like for me, it's not really money. Like, yeah, I want money. Money's cool, right? But also like I have there's causes that I like to help, and there's charities that I like, and I really want to leave and make an impact on the world. So when is enough? I don't know, because it takes a lot of money to do that, right? Yeah. To really have an impact. And, you can't look, there's no, I forget what the saying is, right? But, people think that there's something noble about being broke, but there's nothing. Like you can't help anybody.
That's true.
Like you can't.
No, I mean, it's true. It's true.
Like it's an economic planet. Like you need money. Like every day you go to the gas station, you go to the grocery store, you're swiping your card. You need fucking money every day, right? It's just the reality of the situation, right? And I think like if, money will not make you happy. It honestly, I don't think it really has much to do with happiness. Like really, it's just like, you eliminate a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about one of my really good friends, my buddies over here. We bought some vulture retail deals with, and we were reminiscing. I was like, money just allows me to experiment and make a lot of mistakes. I like to have money because it allows me to go out and experiment new ideas and new business things that I can work on. Like I had a startup that I, like an example, like I invested like 50 grand in and it failed miserably. And I was like, you know what? I learned a lot from it, but you know, it is what it is. But you know, I'd say that I agree with you 100%. It's like it allows you to go out and help people. It allows you to go out and make mistakes. You can afford to make mistakes. So yeah, man, I'm with you 100% on that. What kind of you go ahead?
Yeah, and the other thing I would say is like people have like these innate creative abilities and things that they really want to do and causes they would like to help, but the vision of that is like enclosed and encased in, oh my God, how am I going to fucking pay my rent this month?
Yeah.
Right. And so that constant problem of, you know, having a shortage of money keeps them from actually, you know, living their best life, so to speak. Right. Because if you're not worried about that, you actually have the mental capacity to think creatively and create, like, you know, that kind
The beginning part is probably, I'd say, like the first $1 million you make is probably the hardest. I mean, shit,
Yeah.
the first $500,000 was one of the hardest things out there, at least for me.
My first 100 was harder.
Yeah, I would really like my first year. I remember coming out in 2009, 2010. I barely made 30 grand brokering mobile home parks. But I was lucky because I had done a bunch of Lonnie deals and it was floating me just until I closed it. And then the second year I hit 100 grand, right at 100 grand. And I was like, man, this was good. But like the first 2 years, dude, like it was fucking brutal mentally. I was like questioning, like, what am I doing in my life? Like, who am I? Like, I mean, I was 27, you know, or 27, 28 years old. And I was just like trying to figure it out. And I was just like, yeah, it was probably the hardest part of just being an entrepreneur and just going out and trying to figure it out, is just like opening up your calendar and be like, what am I doing tomorrow? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know you know what I'm talking about.
Totally, dude. I mean, every single day. So when we did cold calls in the insurance business in the beginning, it was door to door. So here I am, this unconfident kid that loved to party and drink and had issues and things. And I'm trying to go talk to a business owner and like convince him. I have to muster up the confidence to A, walk in the door, and B, if the owner comes out, like I've got to like have the confidence to be able to ask him for a meeting to at least talk to me. Right.
Yeah.
And it was hard. Every call was hard. Every single one. Like there wasn't, like, some days you feel better than others. Right. And it goes better. But like, I think the real skill developed here is A, persistence and tenacity. But 3 is just like doing it anyways. Like, cause there's stuff, you know, it's a trait, like you've got stuff coming up now and it's like, hey, I don't want to do that, but do it anyways. Like if I'm like, investor calls are like freaking easy to me now. Like I've got no problem like asking an investor for money because like I know it's the best thing for them to do. I didn't even really believe in the insurance product and I was selling.
Yeah. I get that.
It made it harder.
Yeah, I could imagine. I mean, I could only imagine. My other question is like, how do you tame the ego as you become more and more successful?
Yeah, I mean, look, that's a good point. I mean, you know, I think I've always been relatively good at that. Maybe people would disagree with me, but I always, you know, I'm probably too hard on myself to a degree.
We all are, man. That's just what makes you successful, right?
Yeah.
Like the self-imposed whipping of the back.
Correct. What do they call that? What do they call that?
I don't know, but I saw Mr. Wonderful doing it the other day.
Yeah, look, and it's not an easy thing. And like naturally, you know, you get more and more successful, you make more money, you will, you know, get that, right? But I think becoming more self-aware, whatever that really means for you, but being aware when that happens and like, you know, putting some ethics in on yourself to like, hey dude, like we got to stop this. Right. And keep kind of applying the principles that got you to where you were. Right. So can be difficult though, because I've seen people that just completely change after they get like, they don't talk to people anymore. Like, you know, once you get
Donald Trump syndrome, man, that's what we talked about, right?
That's right.
Hey, I love Donald Trump. I mean, don't get me wrong. You coined the phrase, so I'm using your phrase.
Yeah. We're definitely not disrespecting the president. That is
no, definitely not.
But yeah, I think it's a great question and it's tough. Like, how do you deal with that?
Man, you know, for a long time, I drove an old car. I finally just upgraded my car because it was like my old car was like, all right, it's getting old. And I did that because, it kept me humble. So I intentionally do things that keep me humble, like put myself in situations that keep me humble. I'm seeking that out because it's a battle, man. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, we've done really well in our brokerage, made a lot of money, done well in, buying deals and selling them, made some money on that too. But it's just something that I try to be opportunistic to always be looking at, managing that. One for me is like, looking for ways to be humble. Another one is faith has been really good for me. And then a third one is remembering where you come from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I came from nothing. I was working when I first started. I was a host at Ruby Tuesdays, and I was parking valeting cars at night, and I was working brokerage. And then I had my Lonnie deal. So I was like, I remember, I have a book my wife made me, and I don't know where it is. It's around here somewhere, but I have it. I open it up, and it's a picture of each check I closed. It talked about the deals and she was like, look, I'm making this for you. So when you become more and more successful, you can look back at like where you were. So my wife really helped me with my humility with that kind of stuff, but like having a book that I can go back to and just like remember where I was and what I was thinking during that time. So that helps me a lot too. So how about you? What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's, I think just staying grounded, spiritually for sure, whatever that is. But like, yeah, I think remembering where you came from. I mean, I remember when I was in the insurance business, I got my first $1,000 deposit. And it was the first time I had ever like seen four figures come to me and like for one day's work. And I got the Donald Trump syndrome. We coined the phrase now. I thought I was the shit. And, you just learn pretty quickly. It's like, okay, that's really nothing. But I think, yeah, thinking about that and just, my parents, like they're just very blue collar, middle class people. And, I think they help too. So I definitely think it's important. But I will say this on the other hand, it's like, the most successful people in the world aren't very humble.
No, they're totally not, dude. They're totally not. I mean, look at Donald Trump. I mean, let's talk about the other side of that. I mean, Trump is one of the most successful people in the world. Like, I'm cheering him on, super hardcore, but all the cool stuff that he's doing, hate me or love me, it is what it is about my opinion about that. But at the end of the day, like, it's undeniable what he does for our country economically. And, I think, there are people out there. I mean, I think Peter Thiel, like my buddy Giles' brother hangs out with Peter Thiel's husband, I believe. And I mean, he doesn't have a massive ego. He's just confident. I've never seen Peter Thiel. So I think that just depends on like what kind of person you want to be, or Mark Andreessen, I think his name is. He's not overly egotistical. He's not oozing. So they're just confident and they just know, they're aware. Another one, Tim Ferriss is another one. He's super successful and he's not egotistical.
Yeah.
But I think I guess it just depends on like what kind of person you want to be.
Yeah.
When you get to that level, wherever that level is for you. So
yeah,
it's kind of on a tangent there.
Yeah, no, you're right. And it's interesting as we are looking for the next phase of expansion, and I'm looking at like, the social media and presence and like, hey, what's the strategy with that now? It's like, you can be like super flashy and stuff. And like, unfortunately, like call it what it is, but people like that shit. And like the more like you almost have to be like a little rambunctious.
Activity breeds activity, man.
That's right.
Activity breeds activity. I mean, I totally understand what you meant by that. Like posting like your success and people want to see your lifestyle and how well you're doing. We're like, I want a taste of that. So then they start following you. Like, yeah, I totally, it makes sense. Dude. I mean, it works too, obviously. I mean, it's a lot of people out there that do it. And I mean, I guess it just depends on like what kind of business you're trying to grow. And
right.
It's all about the strategy, right?
Yeah. No, it's interesting. That's a great question. What did Frank say when you asked him if enough was enough?
I asked him that on the interview. He asked me, I'm grateful for Frank for asking me to be a part of this summit series each year. And I asked him the year prior, and I said, when is it enough, man? He's like, Max, it just became, my efforts just kept compounding. And I was like, I set it up and, I raised money and now it just keeps working for itself. He's like, it's not that I'm trying to grow it. It just kind of kept growing. And at this point in my life, he's like, I just have it set up and it keeps doing it. It's not because I want more. It's just because it's already a living, breathing organism and it just keeps producing more and more and more. And I said, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, it made a lot of sense to me because like compounding of efforts, I think is the secret to success. If you can figure out how to compound everything you do from, your relationship with your wife or spouse to the relationship with your business partner, relationship with brokers, whatever you can do to compound those relationships to make them stronger and make them all around more fruitful. I mean, they'll start bearing more and more fruit. And I think that's kind of the secret to success is trying to figure out like which relationships can you compound, which ones are going to bear the most fruit, and then invest time, energy, and money into those.
Yeah. And like,
I think that's what Frank did.
Yeah. And what would be like an example of that? Like just to give the audience, like if you're like, hey, I found this guy that, I think this fits the description of what you just talked about. Hey, I'd love to compound this relationship. Like what would you do to do that?
So example, one of my neighbors, like I'm friendly with all my neighbors, but I have one neighbor who's an entrepreneur and he operates a company that serves nonprofit marketing. And we sat down and like, I have a hard time making small talk about football and all that stuff, like fantasy. Like I'm not big into like fantasy football. I do it with my father-in-law because he started it, and I'm doing it with my two nephews. But I'm just not. I can't sit and watch all that. And then when people that communicate mostly about that, like I just kind of shut down, and I'm like, I'm just going to go on my phone and see what I can read on Twitter that's going to help me improve.
Yeah.
But like. I digress. My buddy, we sat down and just like how me and you are doing right now, we just sat and talked about business theory and what, the deep stuff. And, and now I'm like, I'm going fishing in April in Belize. And I'm like, hey, Rafi, do you want to go fishing with me? So like, you would create events for people that you enjoy spending time with, that, you could compound more relationships with. Like my buddy Giles, the same way, like he's coming with us too. Like, I'm always trying to put a little events together. I like to go ride bikes. So me and Giles go ride bikes and just, grab a little tequila. And I'm a tequila guy, so I enjoy that. We'll drink a little tequila and just sit on the belt line and talk about management strategies, talk about raising money strategies, what he's doing. And he pokes holes in what I'm doing and things that I can improve. And like, just like little things that help us help each other. Cause like, I literally get so fucking stoked when my friends are successful. Like that's one thing that you have to really focus on is like, whatever I can do as a friend to add more gasoline to somebody's fire. Like and like, that's how you keep compounding those relationships. And sometimes those people that you try to do that with, they don't reciprocate, and that's all right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Like you try to do that kind of stuff and hang out but the people that reciprocate that kind of activity, that's when you start building more and more of those relationships. And that's why I kind of joined EO, the entrepreneur organization, because I'm looking for more of that community that's like stoked. Because as you become more successful, like the people that you were just friends with in high school and maybe even college, like I don't know if you've experienced this, but there's some enviness that comes out of it and a little jealousy because they're like getting more and more successful. And they see like vacations you're taking, where you're living, kind of your lifestyle and all that jazz. So like, having to like, you're still friends with those people, but like you gotta find people that fill your cup up and not, drain it because of, their insecurities. So I don't know. That's kind of a journey that I'm on. What do you think? What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think relationships like that are important, and like, like you're flowing power to other people, because I think that's good. And like, I wanted to touch on one thing you just said. You said about if you resent someone else's success, like you're just like, holding yourself back because you're like invalidating success, right? So it doesn't help you in any way, shape, or form to do that, right? I think that's important. And the other thing that Max said is like flowing power to people, right? And helping them become more like that. I think that is huge. And I've got, friends where we're like, kind of a little group of people where we try to do that. We get on the phone and have conversations. If we're in the same area, we meet up and we have these kind of conversations where it's like, man, you feel like you can feel the energy after you leave.
You feel full, right?
You feel full. And, I remember we had a conversation, two of my buddies here 2 weekends ago, and I literally came out of the conversation. I'm like, man, dude, okay, so Marcus is doing this. I'm like, okay, we're going to start doing this now because like I see his viewpoint on that and it makes a lot of sense, because if you're stuck in your like surroundings and stuff all the time, it's like,
I got
like
a hole.
the people in my neighborhood here, like we live in a nice neighborhood, but none of them are where I want to be. I mean, I'm just calling it what it is. And I like to, I'm not going to go talk about fantasy football for 2 hours. Like,
No,
like
dude.
I'm not going to fucking do it.
I'm not. Don't invite me because I'm not coming. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Like I'm not doing that. And granted, I do like, look, I used to be that guy who sat and drank all day on Sunday. By the 4:00 games, I was sloshed and pissed off.
Oh, you got to go through that. It's fun though when you're younger, man. You get older, it's like,
yeah. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? But I can't do that anymore. And I've experienced that with friends I grew up with too. We went to my cousin's. I don't know, maybe it's a couple of years ago now, but we went back to where I'm from, Virginia, for a wedding. Some of them were there, and I'm cordial with them, but I could just feel like the little resentment there. Like I could feel it. I could perceive it.
That's tough.
And look, it is what it is. It's just like, okay, whatever. Like it doesn't bother me anymore because I'm not going to be stuck in that hole anymore. But it is what it is. And I think that the more that we become more successful, the more, wealth that's built, the more that you help. It doesn't matter what you do. Like there's going to be more people that don't like you. Yeah. Like, back to our buddy, DJ T. He, like 40% of the world hates his guts. I probably think there actually may be less. The media just tries to make it seem a little worse than it is. But, there's a lot of people that really don't like him. And there's a lot of people who love him too. And I think that just comes with the territory, the more successful you get. And honestly, to me, I think it's a sign of success. If there's not people hating on you or talking shit on you or something like, then, you're just probably not there yet,
That's totally true. No, I agree with everything you're saying, Matt. I mean, the haters are there to give me that gasoline. I'll burn their hate with gasoline and then consume it. How about that?
Yeah, just convert the energy, man. Just convert
and use it. Be like, keep hating. I love it. Let me bathe in the hate.
Yeah. Well, some people that like holds them back though, and they're like, oh, I don't want to.
And I'll be man. Yeah, I mean, it's because like my wife was friends with a lot of these people, and I've it's a husband and wife team. Like my wife and I work together. She works back of house, and I work at front. And it's tough because like she enjoys a lot of these relationships, and sometimes I'm just like, yeah, we're there. I told her, I love them to death. We did it. We had a lot of great stuff growing up, but like it's just different now, man. You know what I mean? You just kind of keep on. You want to surround yourself with people that are constantly trying to get better. Like I enjoy the struggle. My wife thinks I'm crazy sometimes. And I'm like, you can blame the Marine Corps, man. Like I just enjoy the struggle of just like trying to figure shit out, sign my dick in the door, being like, fuck, I wish I hadn't done that. But I mean, you just keep growing, man. And I would say like it makes you a better leader, keeps you humble, and it really establishes the boundaries that you have for yourself and for the relationships you have around you. So yeah, man, I'm with you on that. We run parallel on that idea.
Yeah. I think, it's all good. And I mean, I think, as much as I say, like when I'm in it, I'm like, this fucking sucks. Then I look back, in hindsight, I'm like, oh man, I was having fun there.
Totally.
It was fun.
It was.
And it's like, I think I was never in the Marine Corps. And by the way, thank you for your service. Like that's, I definitely admire people who did that. And I know it's a big commitment, but like, I enjoy like suffering in the gym, like suffering doing like a workout. Like when
I'm really about to go do CrossFit after our meeting here.
Yeah. So like the CrossFit, I love CrossFit. It like really suck,
They do suck, man. I'm sitting there, you're just sweating. You're just like, but when you're done afterwards, you feel like I'm feeling great. Yeah. The energy you got and the endorphins that are flowing, like all that stuff, dude. It's great.
Yeah, totally. Well, Max, dude, it's been awesome, man. Great conversation. And
yeah, man, thanks for having me. Let's do some deals, dude. You got any deals you want to offer on right now? I can't lead this podcast with being a broker. I'm not asking you.
No, I don't think so right now. I'm trying to buy right now.
Yeah, I know. Everybody says, man, it's tough to shake deals loose these days. That's why I'm asking you on the podcast if you want anything.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's gotten, I feel like going into 2025, I mean, the market definitely, I mean, you probably know better than anybody that, I mean, did your transaction volume go up in 2024 from 2023? Had to have.
So my volume, my last year was a tough year to talk about for my transactions. My mom died, so I was not focused on business at all.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So last year was not a good year for me. We still did 21 deals, which is, half of what we normally do. But I think this year, the momentum we have, I mean, I've got about 150 deals in my pipeline that we're just nurturing. So I'm very optimistic on where we're going to be this year. I mean, I've got, big deal closing in February. I'm about to put together, hopefully we're about to ink a contract here on a north of $10 million portfolio. We've got some deals in the pipeline. They're all over the board. So I really feel like we're going to do really well this year just because of election years are tough, dude. People want to sit on their hands, especially like when they were pending World War III, talks in the world. Like I honestly feel like, and I'll wrap it up by saying this, is like America was higher risk when Biden was in office simply because there was a risk of us going to war. Like we literally were in war with Ukraine and Iran and whatever other countries out there. So like I think the Fed looked at us as a higher risk. So that's why our interest rates started creeping up. Obviously, inflation is one thing, but I think that's a whole other variable that nobody's talking about is that the risk of us going to war, like with the whole world, is causing the Fed to be like, I don't know if I want to give them any more money to do whatever they need. So we're going to raise interest rate. Now that DJT is in the office, I think the Fed's going to look at America as a lot more stable and a lot less risky. So I think organically the rates are going to come down outside of what Trump's trying to do to manhandle the rates to come down. But I think we're going to see some real progress. There might be a big dip, but with who's running the country now, I don't think it's going to be as scary as what some people say.
Yeah. I mean, lower interest rates, like it allows more stuff to happen. Like there's just more velocity of all things.
Movement breeds wealth, dude.
That's right. And I feel like there's been there's been some weight on the market since, mid 2022. There's been I have a business mentor. He's worth, a couple $100 million. And he's like, I get fucking frustrated all the time, dude. I'm like, God damn it. We can't do any deals. And he's like, just relax. He's like, you do weighted pull-ups in the gym, right? And I'm like, yeah, I do. You're right. And he's like, so you guys are like, your business is running and operating with that 45-pound plate right now. Right. And it feels like that. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. It does feel like that. So
totally.
You keep doing that. And when the market opens up, you're going to be springing. Right.
Yeah.
And it's always good to have some other perspective because I get pissed all the time. And I'm like,
yeah, I mean, it is, man. Bruce Robin, dude. You just got to go out for a walk and journal, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Eat an edible, whatever.
You're eating an edible and microdosing too.
I enjoy all that stuff, man. I mean, I'm a tequila drinker. I'm actually, all my family's from Mexico.
Okay.
So I go down there and I'm about to go to the town of Tequila. I'm to go on the Fortaleza. There's a great train tour if you can ever go to it. And they put you on a train and they ride you through all the agave plants and they explain how it's made. And it's like endless amounts of tequila pouring and endless amount of food. Like it's it's just over the top. So I've never done it, but I'm finally going to go do it with my cousin. He's finally got all the tickets and whatnot figured out. So we're going to go check it out. But yeah, man, I enjoy that. And then I dabble on the microdosing to help with my eco. That's kind of a cheat code.
There you go.
You, man.
Yeah, good talking to you as well. Where can people find you if they want to reach you?
So obviously the MHPBroker.com, as it says into my name right here, Maxwell Baker, the MHP Broker. Just go to the MHPBroker.com or give us a call at 678-932-0200, 678-932-0200, or email me at info@themhpbroker.com. I'm happy to talk to you guys. If you sign up as a buyer, we do have a buyer's guide that we've created for all the people out there. It talks about bonus depreciation, talks about conservation easement strategy. Like there's a lot of things in there. It's a little bit more meat and potatoes in there about how to buy deals and what to do with deals that have extra land that are like usable but not usable with the conservation easement stuff. So like there's a lot of tactics you can do. So check out that book, sign up as a buyer, and you'll see some deal flow.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Max, and thanks everyone for watching the MHP show. If you want to check us out, go to victorycapital.com. If you want to partner on a deal, you can reach out to me. Check us out on social media. We will see you all next week. Peace.